Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on Azure AD Connect authentication types. See, in the previous lecture we have already discussed about the that connector Azure AD Connect, which we use to connect the Azure AD as well as the on-premise Active Directory and provides the user synchronization across the cloud as well as on-premise, and it would be pretty easier to manage the authentication and authorization for users regardless of the user whether they are in on-premise or on cloud. So this thing we have already studied. Now the another thing is, in order to get those apps whether they are on cloud, on premise or on Active Directory, there needs to be some authentication methods which are used by the different applications, or there are different authentication mechanisms used by the different applications depending on the requirement and all those things. And it can support basically three main authentication methods. The first one is password hash synchronization, the second is pass-through authentication, and the third one is federation integration. So the first two methods, like password hash synchronization and pass-through authentication, we also called it as cloud-based authentication. So in this case, remember that authentication for these kind of applications would be provided by the Azure Active Directory only. So in that case, if there is an application requirement which needs to get authenticated using the password hash and the pass-through synchronization, then those application will be authenticated by the Azure Active Directory only. Now there is a third type of federation integration. Now let's say if there are some applications which needs to get authenticated via some external identity provider or some foreign identity provider. In that case, it can use the federation integration option as well. So let's suppose on-premise user needs to connect with the this with the Azure Active Directory, or Azure Active Directory needs to connect with the on-premise. In that case, ADFS basically helps to get the federated identity logged in, because for cloud or Azure Active Directory, on-premise Active Directory is like a federated identity, means a foreign identity. So in this way, we can use any of the method depending on the application requirement. So really, to solve that problem, Microsoft has created a decision tree for choosing the authentication method for your application. So now let's say it says that if uh, that okay, do you want your Azure AD to handle sign in completely in the cloud? If your answer is yes, then you can come down to this particular decision tree wherein it asks that okay, do you want to enforce user level Active Directory policies during sign in? And if your answer is no, and then the decision tree says that okay, do you have a sign in requirement non-natively supported by the Azure AD? If your answer is no, then use the password hash sync for the seamless SSO. And if your answer is, let's say, no, then it asks that, okay, do you want to integrate with the existing federated? If the answer is yes, then you can choose this particular option and choose the federation or federation with the password hash sync. If the answer is no, then you can choose, or then you ask for this question: do you have a sign-in requirement which is not natively supported by Azure Active Directory? And if the answer is yes, then again you need to choose between the for the federated authentication. And if the answer is no, then you can choose from the pass-through authentication plus seamless SSO. So in this way, depending on your application requirement, how your application needs to get authenticated, you can choose the respective method. So this is it, friends. In this lecture, we discussed about the authentication methods which can be used for the applications in Azure AD, and then the decision tree provided by the Microsoft, which helps in choosing which authentication method would be good depending on the application requirement. So thank you friends. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.